have the Cerec machine here. We have two units just to show you how the machine works. And this is basically the acquisition unit that we're going to be working with. This machine here is good to get information from the patient's mouth or to acquire information from the prep. As you can see, basically this is a regular computer in which I have a keyboard on the top here. I do have a mouse on the top part here. If I open over here, I can see that there is a CPU there. You can also put a CD or a DVD there. And here we have the monitor. Basically the only difference we have here between this machine and a regular computer is this part here. This is the intraoral camera. And if you're going to use the Cerec machine in a patient, in a regular clinical case, you have to start up the machine about 30 minutes before, because inside here not only you have optical information and some electronic circuits to capture the image like a digital camera, but there is also a heater here to avoid fog on the lenses. Speaking of the lenses here, we do have this plastic that can be detached from the camera. And this plastic portion here can be sterilized, so you don't have infection control breach. The camera consists of a number of lenses as a regular digital camera, and the only thing you have to be really careful is to avoid scratching the lenses, because once you scratch the lens you have to replace it. And just to let you know, this small little window here, this small little lens, is about $1,000, so you have to be really careful not scratching the lens when you're putting the camera inside the patient's mouth. So I'm putting the holder back here in the plastic protection. I don't know if you can see, but we do have a plastic portion here that is higher. It's exactly to avoid touching the lenses on the teeth. So once you put in the intraoral camera on the patient's mouth, the plastic portion, you will only touch the teeth, the adjacent teeth, but not the prep. And this is also to avoid scratching the lens. Be careful holding the camera. You never hold the camera like that. You always hold the camera like that. That's the same way you're holding your handpiece, your high-speed handpiece. So you have to be really careful. So think that the camera is like a pencil or like a brush that you're doing a painting. So this is the way to hold properly the camera. This is the cable connecting the camera to the acquisition unit. You don't have to worry about it, but we can unscrew this part here if you have to disinfect these portions here. So basically this is what you have for the acquisition unit. And I also have a part here that I'm going to attach the camera and is securely placed on the acquisition unit. So now I'm going to show you the milling unit. The milling unit is a different unit. It's connected wirelessly with the acquisition unit, and once you are done doing your job here, you're gonna information sent wirelessly to the milling unit. So this is the milling unit that is going to be connected with the Cerec acquisition unit, and again this is our wirelessly connection. And this wireless connection is thanks to this wireless spot here. So information coming from the unit, acquisition unit, is coming to this device here, and this small little device is providing information to the milling chamber. This is a square milling unit. This is an older model for the Cerec. Currently we have newer models. They are more rounded, they are faster and more accurate, but they work the same way. Over here we have a small little chamber that we are going to attach a block, and you can see that we have two burrs here. One particular burr on the right side is going to work on the anatomy, on the external anatomy of the tooth, on the crown, and the left burr is going to work on the internal portion of the crown. So these two burrs, they're going to start milling the block, and we're going to show that in a few minutes. Basically, this is what you have for the milling unit. We don't need an external water source for the milling unit. As you can see here, there is a small little tank of water underneath the unit, and we have the lubricant here, the water, and all this water compartment here is providing water for the burrs. And we do also a small little screwdriver here that is really useful if you're replacing the blocks. So by the time you're putting the block here, this is a small screwdriver, and you can put it back there, and there we go. This is the milling unit for the Cerec 3D. So we are going now to show you how to take the optical impression. Before you take the optical impression, we're gonna just discuss some important things here about the camera. As I mentioned before, the camera should be held like your high speed or your slow speed. So you don't hold the camera in a different way. And as you can see here, I'm using at least 3 fingers to hold the camera. So this is just to make sure that the camera is steady and is stable by the time I'm taking the images. If the camera is shaking, the image won't be nice, won't be good. So you have to take now a new image. So we want to make sure that the camera is stable, is steady, and you have a decent image once you're putting inside the patient's mouth. You don't need to hold the camera on the heater here unless you are doing a very posterior tooth. So then you can do the same thing over here, and you have more space to go inside the patient's mouth and take the image. It's up to you. Just try to find a way to see what is best for camera stabilization. As you can see, we have the plastic here to protect the lenses and to avoid scratching the lens by the time you're taking the optical image. Be aware of the pitch, yaw, and roll of the camera. So I'm going to show this in a few minutes, but the camera should be put inside the patient's mouth this way, or pretty much parallel to the arch and perpendicular to the long axis of the tooth. Pitch control by a solid rest on the adjacent tooth. So as you can see, the plastic black portion here is touching both adjacent teeth. Yaw and roll determined by the path of insertion or the long axis of the tooth. In this case here, we are showing the first lower molar. When you're taking optical impressions, it is also important to remind you that you should avoid extra items on the patient's mouth. So try to avoid using cotton rolls. Try to keep fingers close to the tooth or wedges. Whatever you're putting there, the camera will capture, and this can cause problems for you by the time you're designing the restoration. That can be a crown, inlay, or an onlay. By the time you're taking the optical impression, you need to keep in mind 3 important things. And these 3 important things, we call the first one the pitch on the camera. It's like opening a box. So pitch is up and down like a box lid. So is the position of the camera going up or going down? As I mentioned before, as long as the plastic protection is touching the adjacent teeth properly, and this is going to give you more stabilization for the camera, you are good to go. So the pitch should be approximately 14 millimeters from the highest portion of the prep. If you are about 14 millimeters at least with the distance for the pitch, the camera can properly scan the tooth. So again, pitch is going up and down this way. The other thing is, you don't need to take the image like that, because first, the focus area won't be properly placed, so you won't have a nice image to take the image. And if you're taking the impression like that, there is a good chance that you're going to shake the camera, and shaking the camera is going to cause distortion on the image on the computer. So again, always touch the adjacent teeth, mesial and distal. Well, let's say if you're doing a second lower molar and the patient, you only have a second lower molar that is no wisdom, or the third molar there. What you have to do in this case is try to do your best with the mesial adjacent tooth in order to regulate or to calculate the pitch. So this is important thing. Number one is the pitch. Now the second important thing is the roll. I'm just gonna move my dental form here. Roll, you can rotate. It's like a rotation of the camera. You can rotate the camera towards the buccal, or you can rotate the camera towards the lingual. My advice to you and my suggestion for you is to rotate the camera in a position that you're following the arch contour. So as you can see, I can see the first bicuspid there and the second molar. And my roll and my rotation here is pretty much parallel to that line. So this is the second important thing, the roll. First one was the pitch, second one is the roll. The last one and the third one we call the yaw. And the yaw is important if you're taking extra information or extra pictures from the buccal and from the lingual surface. Sometimes in areas that the tooth is more subgingival, you still have enamel but the prep is subgingival, it is necessary to do a yaw. So the yaw can consist of rotating the camera towards the buccal this way or towards the lingual. So this is a yaw towards the lingual and towards the buccal. The good thing about the Cerec software is you don't really need to do any yaw taking images, because the software and the camera itself is able to capture a decent image from the buccal and from the lingual without any yaw. That means you have to be the camera steady there. If you're using a different CAD machine, for instance the E4D, then you need to take more pictures from the buccal and from the lingual. So again, this is the right position in a closer view of the camera. As you can see, the camera location here is parallel to the arch and is also perpendicular to the long axis of the tooth. So I'm not moving the camera, and the plastic protection, the lens plastic protection, is resting on both mesial and distal adjacent. Be careful when taking this image using the camera like that. What you're doing here, you're changing the pitch on the mesial. So as a result, you want to have a proper image on the mesial surface of the tooth. The same thing, you should be careful not putting the camera like that. So again, the camera is resting in both adjacent mesial and distal teeth and is perpendicular to the long axis of the tooth. So we're going to take the optical impression, and for that end we're going to use this Cerec Opti spray. So it's this little bottle here. This bottle is able to take about 15-20 pictures, or 15-20 clinical cases, and then you need a new bottle. And the big advantage of this new bottle here compared to the old type of spray is this is a blue layer of spray that you're putting on the prepped tooth and on the adjacent teeth. And so quickly gonna show you how to spray the tooth. We also have this small applicator here, as you can see. This is disposal, so once you use on one patient's mouth, you can just put in the trash bin, and so then you avoid infection control. Using this spray here, what you're going to do, what you're trying to accomplish here, is a uniform layer of spray over the prepped tooth and the adjacent teeth. Normally, we're going to use the spray in three different directions. The first one on the occlusal surface, coming from the distal to the mesial. Secondly, on the lingual, coming from the distal towards the lingual. And finally, on the buccal, same thing, coming from the distal towards the lingual. The point here is you're trying to, again, create this uniform layer of optical spray. And don't worry, this is not a toxic spray, so you can smell it, and this won't cause any harm for you. So once I press, by the way, you have to shake the bottle before applying. And again, I'm gonna press. From the distal towards the mesial. I apply on the occlusal. Same thing on the lingual. And the same thing I'm doing on the buccal. So as you can see, we have a uniform blue layer of powder from the first bicuspid to the second molar. Let's pretend that you're doing a crown on this first molar. So you need to powder the second molar, second bicuspid, first bicuspid. Do you need more teeth to be included in the 3D virtual mode? Not really. You need about 2 anterior teeth or adjacent mesial teeth, and if you have 2 posterior teeth on the distal, you also take pictures of these teeth. But normally what you need is at least 1 tooth for the mesial adjacent area, 1 tooth to the distal adjacent area. This is the minimal information that the Cerec software is requiring you to take it. So here we have this crown on the first molar, tooth number 30, and as you can see, we have again the uniform powdering, or the layer of blue layer of powdering over the prepared tooth and adjacent teeth. If you're asking what is the reason why you need this powder, it's because the camera of the Cerec is not able to recognize soft tissue or even hard tissue. So the powder is actually a reflective surface for the camera. So once the camera transmits a light on the surface, in newer Cerec machines is able to see it is a blue line. In this older machine, the Cerec 3D, is not able to see it. But anyways, there is a light going on the surface, and this powder is reflecting this light and sending back information to the lens. So then the camera is able to see what's going on and create an image based on that. As you can see here, I just powder the prep tooth and the adjacent teeth. I'm going to take an image on this surface. However, later on, I'm going to also powdering the opposing teeth, because this information is also important for the software to understand the proper patient's occlusion. And the software will also create a new 3D model for the opposing teeth. So let's quickly powdering the opposing teeth, and then you're good to go. So now we have both arches, upper and lower, with the powder, and you're ready to start scanning or doing the optical impression for both the prep, adjacent teeth, and then later on you're taking the optical impression for the opposing teeth. This Cerec software, the version 3.8 and higher, we can also take the buccal scan. Taking the buccal scan, you don't need to use any bite registration material. That means once the patient is biting in, the software is able to take an image on the buccal articulation and can calculate the patient's occlusion. If you're using an older Cerec machine, let's say for instance version 3.6 and lower, you have to put an impression bite registration material on the tooth, ask the patient to bite in, open the mouth, and then you have to record the bite record again with a new optical impression. So this is an older technique. Currently, we are no longer using any byte registration material when doing Cerec procedures. So doing the optical impression, you have to use the acquisition unit. And over here, we have a foot pedal. So in order to start the camera, or put the camera on, you have to use this foot pedal here. So if you're doing optical impression with the Cerec 3D, the foot pedal is the only way to activate the camera. For newer Cerec machines, the Cerec AC, you can use an automatic acquisition mode. That means the camera itself can take the pictures without using the foot pedal. But the foot pedal is also available. Let's say if you want to use the foot pedal and you prefer, or you're more comfortable using the foot pedal, that's fine. Once I touch the foot pedal over here, my camera is on. That means you can see that the camera on my screen is working. And once I release the foot pedal, I'm going to capture the image. So here it's just a test. I'm not taking the image for the tooth, but hopefully we're able to hear a sound. So the machine was making a beep, just telling you that the camera took an image. Of course, this image is not good, and that's why I don't have a tooth here on the 3D model. So the goal here is to take 3 optical impressions from the prepped tooth and the lower arch, 3 optical impressions from the upper arch or the opposing teeth, and at least 2 optical impressions from the buccal side. So we are going to start taking images from the prepped tooth, and remember the rule I gave you before: at least 1 mesial adjacent tooth and 1 distal adjacent tooth. So we need at least 3 teeth on the image. If you want to take more pictures, that's okay. Remember, you're not really counting on a memory here. You can take as much as you can. The more information you provide to the machine, the better. However, taking optical impressions on the patient's mouth might consume a lot of time. So the idea using the CAD-CAM is you need to do a quick procedure. So again, the recipe is you need at least 3 images to form one 3D virtual mode. So we're going to take this first optical impression, and remember the foot pedal. Now I'm pressing the foot pedal, and here we go. The camera now is on, and you can see on the screen that there is a, let's just put aside here the camera, right in the middle there. There is a green crosshair there. And that green crosshair is there to tell you where is the center position of the camera. So as I mentioned before, I'm touching the adjacent teeth. I'm fixing the rotation of the camera. I'm fixing the position of the camera also. What is the goal here? The goal is to centralize the preparation like that, in a way that first I can see all the margins. Secondly, I can see all the axial walls and internal angles. If I change or yaw the camera like that, as you can see, I'm missing information on the lingual, and this won't be a good picture. So, holding the camera steady, taking as a reference the green crosshair, ask yourself if you can see all the margins, if you can see all the axial walls, if you can see all the internal angles. And if the answer is yes for all these questions, what you're going to do now is make the camera steady, and release the foot pedal. Once you can see the image on the screen is a little bit shaky, I'm gonna press the foot pedal again, make sure the camera is steady. I'm in position again, the green crosshair. My patient is moving a little bit, so there we go. Release the foot pedal. And now what I have is a very good image from the occlusal surface. If this image is good, I'm going to instead press and hold the foot pedal. I'm just gonna kick really quick the foot pedal like that. And now you can see on the right side in the top menu there on preparation that I have the first image of my preparation. So remember, for this prep arch, or the lower arch in this case, we need to take 3 optical impressions. I'm gonna press the foot pedal again. The camera is live again. What I'm doing is I'm moving the camera towards the mesial adjacent tooth. Make the camera steady. Release the foot pedal. This is a very good image. As you can see, it's not shaky. Again, quickly kick the foot pedal. And you see there on the right side, the 3D model is forming. Let's move the camera to the distal now. Press the foot pedal again. Now I can see the distal adjacent tooth. Release the foot pedal. Let me take a second image here. By the way, if you can see those dark spots on the occlusal surface, means your plastic lens protection was touching that area. And it is my suggestion for you to put more powder there before taking the image. So let me just quickly put the camera aside here. Let's go back, and there we go. I no longer have those dark spots. Make the camera steady. There we go. Nice image. Again, kick the foot pedal. So by the time I was taking the pictures, hopefully you noticed that you start creating a 3D model here. You can left click and hold, and you can definitely see this virtual 3D model. That means this was a very good capture from the prep and both mesial and distal adjacent teeth. Do you need more information on the mesial distal? Not really. This is more than enough. So we are done here with the prep for the lower arch and the preparation area. And as you can see here on the left side, on the right side, we have a collection of 3 images that we took from the prepped tooth. If I put my mouse here, I have a preview on the left side. If I touch the other image, I have the second image that was from the mesial adjacent tooth. And on the third image, I have the image from the distal adjacent tooth. And hopefully you also notice that here on the virtual model, once I'm touching here the first image, is going to highlight in gray the area that I took the image. So moving to the other one, you can see that now it's going to highlight the mesial, the tooth, and you can see there an overlap right in the middle of the prepped tooth. So this is what makes possible to create this 3D model. So the Cerec machine is take image from the adjacent tooth, but also part of the image from the prepped tooth or the previous taken image. This is the way the machine is able to create this 3D model. The same thing if I move to the third image, you see the distal adjacent tooth and an overlapping towards the distal portion of the prepped tooth. So every time you take an image, and you can easily see here you're overlapping with the previous image that you took. If you don't do that, if you don't follow this basic rule, and let's say if I move my camera towards the distal only to include the distal tooth, not including the margin and the axial and pulpal wall from the prepper tooth, the software might not be able to create the virtual 3D model. So this is really important. Again, just to summarize, we need 3 or more optical impressions in order to create one virtual 3D model. If there is no adjacent tooth, as I mentioned before, in some cases there is no adjacent tooth, extend 2 digital images in the opposed direction. So again, the idea is always to collect more info in one side or towards the other side. Remember that the reason why you're taking more pictures is only to make the software able to create the virtual 3D model. That is nothing related to accuracy or to the fitting for the crown. So you're now ready to take the impression for the upper arch, and it's the same thing. I'm holding steady my camera, and let's pretend that this is my patient. I'm gonna take images from the first molar, second bicuspid, first upper bicuspid, and second upper molar. So ask the patient to open the mouth. That's the same principle. Putting my camera, the plastic black protection is holding and resting on the adjacent teeth, and now you're ready to take the image. So let's keep going here. We are going now to take images of the opposing arch. By the way, here on the left side we have this up menu, and here we have the preparation area, occlusion area, and antagonist area. So right now I'm going to take images for the antagonist. So then I click antagonist, leave my mouse, my cursor right there, and again pressing the foot pedal, I'm going to start taking images from the opposing arch, and you can see right there the first upper molar. So release the foot pedal, same idea, very good image, steady, kick the foot pedal, and now you can see on the bottom of the right side the virtual 3D model for the antagonist just forming right there. Hold and press the foot pedal. Let's move, remember, overlapping the previous image. Let's move to the mesial adjacent tooth. Release the foot pedal. I don't like this image, I'm going to take a new one. Quickly hit or kick the foot pedal. Let's now move to the distal. And there we go. I have right here on the lower right corner the virtual 3D model for the opposing teeth, including half of the first bicuspid, second bicuspid, first molar, and almost the whole second molar. This is good enough, and I think I got good qualities. By the way, previously and right now I'm taking images. Hopefully you were able to notice a green mark here on every single picture, and you have a green check on the left side. If you get a green side or a green check, means you are doing a good job. However, if the image is shaking, or if you haven't used enough powder, you might get a red cross. If the red cross happens, you might have a red cross here. Click and hold the image and put this image on the trash bin right here on the right side, and take a new image. The software won't tell you what exactly is going on, what you have to fix it, but if there is a red mark there or a red cross, remember, you have to take a new image. And now you need to take the picture from the buccal area. So as you can see here, buccal we are going to click buckle right on the left menu here, and we are ready to take this image. This is also going to record the occlusion of the patient. So I'm pressing my camera right there, and as you can see now, I have this green crosshair right in between the prepped tooth and the opposing tooth. I have a good image. Hit the foot pedal. I'm going to take one more towards the mesial. Remember, you have to overlap the previous image, and one towards the distal, again overlapping the prepped tooth image. And here we go. Now we have the 3D model for the buccal scan area. We do have some deficiencies here in the image because this is not a real patient, and so the Cerec machine is not really able to understand a plastic teeth formation there. We don't have the tongue, we don't have any other thing there, but hopefully this will be able to work, and we're going to be able to mount your 3D model. So now I took the 3 images for the preparation, 3 images for the antagonist, and 3 images for the buccal. Once I hit next, this is the time that if you're working on a netbook, it might take a few more minutes, or if you're working on a laptop with i5 or i7 processors, it's going to be faster, and it's going to take a few minutes for the machine now to analyze and try to match up all these virtual models. And apparently here we did a very good job, because if you don't do a very good job taking the images, you might get a warning or a message at this point. So here we go. Here we have the 3D model for the prep, for the buccal, and the opposing teeth. What I'm going to do is I'm going to correlate these 3 digital models. So left click and hold the upper one, the middle one here. Release the left button. As you can see, the software was able to understand the relation between this buccal scan with the upper model. Do the same thing with the lower. Left click and hold, and move towards the lower arch. And now what you have here is the software understanding the patient's occlusion. You can rotate this image pressing and holding the left button, and on the top left corner you can see that if I click toggle contacts, the software is telling me areas that it might have a very heavy occlusion. If at this point here you have any contacts on the prep, that means you don't have enough reduction. You have to go back to the patient's mouth and fix that problem before keep going. So I'm gonna unclick, and now we are ready to go. I'm gonna hit next again. And there we go. This is the first step. Remember, the software will always tell you what to do on the lower left corner. So right now the software is asking me to trim the preparation, and if I hit next, the next step will be also information here on the left lower corner.